Hey everyone, it's John. Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to talk about the one thing that every human being on earth shares and why making peace with it might be the most liberating decision you have ever made. And it's going to be an interesting topic because today's topic is about death and what comes after. So if you're here today, maybe there's a good chance that you're kind of curious as to what happens after we die. Or maybe you're just here to find out why I am not afraid of dying. Either way, it's going to be a fun one. So my question to you before we begin is, are you afraid of dying? Because in my personal story, I don't think I've ever feared death per se. There was once when I was about 14 and me and my dad were trapped in a cave. We were caving in New Zealand and it started flooding because of heavy downpour. And there was a group of us doing this cave tour together, and the others were in their 20s and 30s. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, this could be the end. I turned to my dad and asked, are we gonna die here? And I still remembered the feeling and thoughts that went through my head. There was no fear. I was like, oh, this is what feeling like I'm gonna die feels like. I guess this is it. But I could see the fear in all the other people's eyes. They were clearly distraught. And there was just one blonde girl, I don't know whether she was from New Zealand or not, but she had an obvious panic look on her face. But here I was, a 14-year-old boy, without a hint of fear in me. Well, maybe it's because my dad was with me, and the only one that if I had looked back that would really suffer if I wasn't alive would have been my mom. If me and my dad both drowned in that cave, for example. But of course, thankfully, somehow we managed to get out. And remember when I did get out, I wasn't ecstatic or breathing a sigh of relief. I was like, oh, I guess life goes on. But the other people around me, they were thanking the heavens, thanking the floor, and then they were trying to make complaints to the office for allowing us to even go down to the cave in the first place. Basically, they were just full of relief. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, for me, I've never really struggled with the thought of death or dying, and that experience showed me that actually if death was in front of me, I think I would be okay, knowing that I won't be afraid. I think my soul knew on some spiritual level that I could not yet grasp when I was 14, but there was more to my life than this physical body. But today I want to talk to you about how you can use death or the end of life to actually live more fully and presently, and to stop wasting time and do the things that you have been putting off. Maybe it's you chasing your dream, or even something as simple as saying I love you to someone you really care about that you have not said to in a long time. So a study found that people who regularly reflect on their mortality live with greater clarity, with deeper gratitude, and stronger alignment with their true values than those who avoid the subject entirely. Confronting death does not make life smaller, it actually makes it more vivid, more urgent, and more real. The Stoics built an entire philosophy around this truth. They called it memento mori. Remember that you will die. And Marcus Aurelius, the greatest Roman emperor who ever lived, wrote it to himself every morning. He said, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." So the most alive people in history were always the one most comfortable with impermanence, which is death. If you remember Steve Jobs, he stood in front of Stanford University graduates in 2005 and said something that really changed the way that millions of people think about their lives afterwards. He said, remembering that I will be dead soon is the most important tool that I have ever encountered to help me make the biggest choices in life. Because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment, fear of failure, all these things simply fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. Death is the greatest tool that we've been given to live in the present moment and to be grateful for our lives. And similarly for the ancient Egyptians, they did not hide death. They built their entire civilization around understanding what death is. They believed that when you stood before Anubis at the end of your life, your heart will be weighed against a feather, the feather of truth. So a life that is lived in alignment with your deepest values weighed as lightly as that feather. But a life lived in fear, in deception, in avoidance, it weighed heavy. So the question they were really asking was not, what did you achieve? But it was more, did you live truthfully in alignment with your true nature? Because if you live in alignment, you'll be light. And if you don't know what near-death experience is, I encourage you to Google it or watch some YouTube videos on it of some of the real-life cases of people who had clinically and medically died by all measure of science and came back to life to tell their story. Now, I watched over 1,000 cases of near-death experience people to draw my own conclusions as to whether these people were lying to promote something or if they were genuine cases. Because I myself have not died and come back, so I need to do this research with a very skeptical lens. And I came to the conclusion that the medical evidence was too strong to deny in almost all of these cases. The records are there, they're not forged or documented, and why would they, right? And in almost every documented case across cultures, whether you're Indian, Asian, Caucasian, Arabic, Muslim, Chinese, or you're a Buddhist, you're across all religions, whether you're Hindu, you are, Taoist or Christian, and across all centuries, the accounts shared remarkable consistency. So no matter who they were, they all said that death brought them profound peace and a sense of unconditional love. They all came back and said the same thing. Your life was not reviewed through the lens of your achievements or the amount of stuff you acquired. All those material things, they do not matter. But they are reviewed through the lens of love. How much love did you give? How much did you give in money, your spirit, your energy? How much did you connect with someone else? And how deeply did you allow yourself to be known as who you really are and not putting on a facade? I've come to learn that we are not separate from one another. We are all one, you and I. And I know deep down that death is not an ending, but simply a return to where we came from. And I've come to the conclusion that the soul that lives the most fully, that gave the most generously, loved the most honestly, and served with everything that they had, will return with nothing left unfinished. Rumi wrote, "Die before you die, and discover that there is no death." What he meant was this: let go of the ego, let go of the performance, let go of the fear, the smallness, while you are still alive, and discover that the thing you were afraid of losing was never really you to begin with. That is so profound. And death is just a very exciting topic, and I know that this is a lot, and I do not expect you to just simply take my word for it. All I can do is to share what I know and see if you resonate with it, and see if you want to do your own digging, do your own research to validate what I'm saying. If you think that I'm lying, if you think I'm just spewing blasphemy, it's okay. I'm not here to convince anybody of my experience. I'm here to share what I know. But from the examples of Marcus Aurelius, Steve Jobs, and many others, they all said that the fear of death is often the fear of not having lived. If you had truly lived and lived with no regrets, you will be at peace with whatever happens. So I want you to understand that if you truly show up for life every single day and live it to the fullest, making bold decisions, making honest decisions, making aligned choices today and forevermore, then whatever happens after is irrelevant. And I want you to take your life not for granted. And I want you to hold the reality of your impermanence with gravity. By doing so, you would inevitably start stripping everything in your life right now that is not real. The fake friends, the material goods that you've associated yourself with, these are all, stuff. And these are not people that you're aligned with and connecting with. Remember that the opinion of others do not matter if you're only trying to impress them. Take risk that you were too afraid to take, and be the authentic version of you that you have been hiding away all this time. Death is actually the greatest gift that life has to offer for you. So I want to ask you, if you knew you were going to live forever, let me just tell you that you do not cherish any moment because you know that you can have it again tomorrow. If you knew you're going to live forever, next week, 1,000 years from now, it won't have any real significance. But the fact that the next second of your life is not guaranteed, now that is true magic, because you would treasure this second. And finally, I want you to know that the truth of the matter is your soul actually never really ends. Well, this life may end, but you have lived many lives before, and you will continue to do so until your soul, your higher self, chooses not to anymore. That is a different topic, that is a different question altogether, and I will answer that concept in a different topic, in a different video. Stay tuned for that. So what I ask you now is, what would you do right now if you knew that death is coming for you? Would you stop tolerating relationships that you do not honor? Maybe you would start the thing you have been postponing until conditions were perfect. Or maybe you'll be simply more present, more here, more grateful, and more willing to let the people, who matter know that they matter in your life. So the fun part is you do not need a terminal diagnosis to live this way. I just need you to simply remind yourself daily that time is not limited. And I don't want you to regret on your deathbed that you did not live in true alignment with who you really wanted to be. So yes, this topic is fun, this topic is interesting, and there's so much more to say about death. And if you are afraid of death, I want you to give me your comments on why you are afraid. And I guarantee you that if you live from a place of abundance and a place of presence, that fear will be stripped away, and you will not fear death anymore when you see it from a different lens. So my hope for you today is I want each and every one of you to live a life so fully lived that when the moment comes, there is nothing left to fear and there's nothing left undone. As always, you are seen, you are heard, I deeply care about you, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.